All right, guys, just finishing up our matchup. Necrons into Blood Angels with a final score. Blood Angels 91 to a Necrons 85. So, first outing with the Blood Angels. Honestly, I played Necrons a lot, so there's not as much from me, but how do you feel? How do you feel about some of those units and the combinations?
Pretty good.
Good. All right. Good.
Yeah, it's good. Have a good night, guys. That's all you get out of me. Subscribe because of the Patreon to get more information out of me.
There you go.
I wanted to try some things, and I had some fun with some of the things, but also saw some of the downsides in certain things. Like we were just talking here about the Sanguinary Guard. They're really strong. They hit really hard, and in some ways they have durability, but they're only T4. And that just means that a lot of times they take a whole lot of wounds. When especially when you get your +1 to wound into them, it's just like you're going to do a ton of wounds into me. And so sometimes they are just not very durable. The fact that they're -1 to wound and -1 to hit, but only in combat is kind of a bummer. I'd rather have just one of those all the time than both of those, but only in combat. So you have to play very carefully with them, or else they can just get picked up. Certain profiles just go into them really well. But they also slapped really hard. The Stern Guard unit, had fun with that. Went out there and shot the Triarch Stalker and punched him, and they did pretty well, but then they got killed in return. I knew that was going to happen. I just wanted to march them out there on the table. So not a good strategic move on my part, but
you win the game. You can't really say that fully. Sometimes you got to make those sacrifices,
Yeah. I probably would have been better if I'd done that a turn later when the Death Company were on the table and would have drawn you out and I had more, counterplay into them. It probably would have been good. But overall, the Blood Angels just really strong. They hit really hard. Super consistent because you get an Oath target, and then the Sanguinary Guard are hitting on 2s because of Dante, and then the Death Company reroll all their hits. So you just have consistency with what you're pounding into and whenever you're attacking targets. So that felt really good. What did you think playing against the Blood Angels?
So going into the Blood Angels, again, as I said, when we were setting up the game and Lane was talking about some of the things they could do, because this is obviously my first exposure to Blood Angels entirely. We were discussing some of the abilities, and I pretty much said, it's funny. Every time I play against Blood Angel player, I kind of like zone out and just go, okay, if you touch my guys, they're dead. So it's like we're playing just this brutal game of tag. This is just a vicious game of tag, and it's don't get tagged. If you get tagged, you get destroyed. Mm-hmm. And every instance basically of that happening was the truth. I liked with my list that I was able to have a little bit better command point management, which was able to help me to get through to be able to interrupt, which is something that I don't normally have that opportunity to do. And with units like the Immortals being able to reroll wounds onto things, that was helpful, especially going into the Death Company. So I was able to do a little bit of damage to you before you completely just smacked me off the table over there. It didn't do it initially as much as I would have liked, but it was enough to keep my Overlord alive, which mattered at the end of the game. So there was that, but everything else, it was basically anything you tagged just got wrecked every single time. Probably I'd have to say my favorite character in your army is Mr. Super Saiyan going nuts and just annihilating a whole squad by himself and just going, oh, okay, well, that happened.
Yeah. The captain who gets his once per game Rage of the Primarch or something, once per game, sustain 3, and the fact that between his Blood Angel buff and then his once per game captain buff where he gets 3 extra attacks, he's got 9 attacks, hitting on 2s, sustain 3. If you're going to the Oath target, you're just fishing for 6s. What did I get? I had 9 attacks. And I got 15 hits. Yeah, I only got 2 6s, but didn't get any misses. So I got 15 hits with his Power Fist. And he was leading the Assault Intercessors, and the target was on an objective. So he re-rolled all wounds.
Yep, and that's been a new thing we've been discussing is a lot of times of just having little boosted units and their abilities to boost the character into that craziness. And he's really, really good for that off those guys. A lot of the other stuff, like to go back to your point of seeing things, Sanguinary Guard, they did exactly what I expected them to do. They just shred whatever they touched, and they did.
It is a 400-point unit for 6 Sanguinary Guard plus
that's a lot.
Dante. That's why I've been testing. Friend of the channel, Zach, he's been playing some Blood Angels 2 and trying out the new rules, and he's been doing more like MSU type stuff instead of so many big, huge units. A couple big units, but like some cheaper units, just because they still slap really hard in the Blood Angels. Like Assault Intercessors, the jump packs are so strong, and this detachment. I didn't run any today because I know what they do, but I'll try some more things with them. But I think I want to try rather than maybe instead of the Sanguinary Guard, 10-man jump intercessors and a captain together is like 240 points.
So
almost half of the Sanguinary Guard. They hit pretty hard too, so it gives me a lot of other options too.
So you're not really sold at the Sanguinary Guard right now?
It's just at 400 points for them with Dante. It's a lot of points.
It is. What about without Dante?
It's still 270 for the 6 of them. And then they're just hitting on 3s, and they don't have the -1 to wound if they're not led by a character. They're just -1 to hit. So they lose quite a bit when they're not led by a character. I mean, I like the efficiency of that. And Dante hits pretty hard with his 9 attacks on the charge. But
how'd the Death Company feel for you today? I know you didn't get to do too much with them because I hit them. I made sure to hit them hard once I saw them. Same with the Sanguinary Guard. As soon as they came out, I was like, I got to eliminate these things. But all in all, did you feel like they went down too quick? Or do you feel like it was just I poured so much into them and that's what's going to happen and just got to try them again?
Yeah, you collapsed like more than half your army on them. So I was going to choose through them. They last a while. Lombardi's helped keep them alive a little bit. And they did have a 6-up, feel no pain. So
half my remaining army.
Yeah. I honestly don't think I played the trade game super well. I just managed to outscore you on primaries. Obviously, at the end of the table, at the end of the game, I had 4 scouts left, and you had, I don't know, 600 points worth of stuff.
I was really trying to focus on that trade because I didn't want you to get up on me and start having more resources going into the later portions of the game. So I definitely was. I literally in our first turn when I had the Triarch Stalkers out there, I said that initially with the points, but I was looking at you like, wait, how many points does this cost? How many points does that cost? And I was trying to keep myself in a good position as far as those trades went before I decided to start sacrificing things because I knew things were going to come crashing in quick. One thing I forgot to do was spend a command point on my Lich Guard and give a possible fight on death. That could have helped, especially considering the aggressors pushing through. That extra little bit of damage could have been nice if I would have gotten a couple of hits through there. So that's one that I definitely have to remember. Triarch Praetorians, I like them. I like where they're at with points now. They feel valuable. Like they feel like they actually can do something. Shooting wise, meh. I mean, you walled me every time I tried to shoot with them. But once I charged in there with those 3 attacks and that 2 damage, very, very nice.
Yeah, they picked up a fresh impulsor.
Oh, yeah, that was lucky.
Yeah.
That was lucky. But yeah, they did pick up.
He did roll a lot of 5s on the wound roll. But
on the opposite side, having that ability, if I would have went to that impulsor, if I needed it to go away, and I would have said, okay, I'm going to go +1 to wound on that thing. Now I'm wounding it on 4s and AP 2 damage. That can really crack back.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then the one final thing to talk about from this game that makes me happy is that Lane finally attempted the strategy that I was talking about. He just forgot one thing. Lane spent a command point and threw grenades from a Land Raider at Xeris. Then he shot everything at Xeris. Then he charged and tank shocked Xeris. And because he's Blood Angels, he was better in combat versus Xeris. And he brought Xeris all the way down to 2 wounds.
Yeah.
But there's one critical thing you forgot, Lane. And you know what that is?
What's that?
It was a Luminar Xeris that you were running into.
I didn't forget that it was Luminar Xeris. I didn't think I was going to pick him up. I was just trying to tie him up. He's so hard to kill. Freaking 4-up, feel no pain. Doesn't matter how many wardles I do if he stops half of them. I'd have to do 18 wounds to him on average because of the 4-up, feel no pain. So, I was happy with how everything performed. I just think next time I play Blood Angels, I'm going to try and focus on some smaller units, some lower point cost units, just to see how they play.
The only thing I'm in consideration right now is I wasn't too happy with the Triarch Stalkers out of this initial gate. I do like the scout move, but it does make me kind of consider maybe going into what are they? The bikes, going into Tomb Blades, which can also scout, and then I can also create a larger wall with that movement, especially if I'm going to lose these things.
And they're a cheaper trade unit, right? 130 points for the Stalkers, you said?
130 points for a Stalker, yeah. I mean, I guarantee they're not 130 points for even 3 of them.
Right.
But it's definitely, and then they're fast too. They're really, really fast. And they have inherently shoot and scoot. So they can move, scout move, shoot, and just get really far across the field. And
They
especially
have an
with
assault weapon on them too.
an option for it, yes.
Yeah, so you can move them and then
Not, you
advance
don't even
them,
have to take all
and
of
then
them.
shoot them, and then move them. Yeah,
And you don't even have to take all of them assault weapons. You can just take, because
one. Yeah.
one. I could take one Tomb Blade with Tesla. I mean, I've honestly,
I hate it. I hate
like,
Necrons.
that's like the 10th time I've heard that tonight. But
Nope.
that is a possibility to be able to do that. Listen, I don't have anyone in my army that can use a grenade strat. Okay. So
Okay.
Necrons are not allowed to throw grenades. So I don't want to hear it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you weren't throwing grenades, but you know what you
It's
were
not fair.
doing? You were tank shocking with the reanimator twice.
Because it's a vehicle. Yes. No other dude. This is the first game. I gotta tell you, those reanimators were out there fighting. They were out there
shooting and fighting
with their
charging,
atomizer, charging, kicking Space Marines. Reanimators came to play, and man, did they! They actually were. They were doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Not very well, but they were doing stuff.
They're out playing.
And I got the stats for that. Yeah, I think Reanimator almost took out a captain.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to go with a closing note. In all seriousness, I'm not just trying to talk this, and this is kind of where we're at right now, and I want to see Lane's opinion on this. We have a lot of codexes out right now. I don't know. We got like Space Wolves, maybe a Black Templar codex, Grey Knights. Oh, who else am I forgetting? Death Watch in December. Hey.
There's still upcoming codexes. Leagues of Votan,
Imperial
Guard.
Armor. Oh yeah, Imperial Guard. Imperial Knights,
Yeah.
Chaos Knights,
Death Guard.
World Eaters. So these are all. We're probably about halfway, maybe a little over halfway through it right now. And where Necrons were at the beginning of the edition, they were super powerful because they had all the detachments, all the abilities, and things that other armies didn't have. Now, as more armies come out, more codexes come out, we're seeing some of those initial releases toned down. Now, Space Marines and Tyranids were terrible right off rip and have still needed some work to get boosted up there, where Necrons were overpowered, 57% win rate initially. Now Necrons are getting reduced down. Do you feel personally that we're starting to have more effect to the power creep of new codex releases? Or do you feel like this is a lot cleaner, as we've seen in other editions, where it almost seems like whatever book in previous editions, whatever book hit, it was just that book was winning tournaments until an FAQ happened or a new codex came out? Where do you feel that the game is at right now? You feel like these new codexes are just automatically boom dominating?
No. GW is not playtesting.
You know,
I don't think they're playtesting. They're just coming up with rules. They might playtest a little, but there are so many books that come out that are not good. Like Custodies are terrible. GSC, G-Stealer Cult was bad as well. And they have to keep going in there and tweaking and adjusting things. So I don't think everything that comes out is overpowered.
if anything, it's the opposite. It's coming out underpowered.
Yeah,
Imperial
like
Agents being a prime
Drukhari have
example.
been really strong, and they're an index army. Imperial Guard are considered one of the best armies right now, and they're still in their index. Well, some things like Sisters of Battle, they are really good. They have their codex, and it's really strong. So some of the codexes come out are really strong. Some of them are come out are pretty weak, and they need buffs and adjustments and things.
Which is
Like AdMech needed a bunch of buffs to get
tons.
get them playable. So yeah, I don't think GW is just not. So you have no idea when a codex comes out. It might be overpowered. It might be underpowered. Occasionally it's just right, but yeah, I think they're fixing things more after it's been released rather than playtesting as much as they should.
And to that note, I do think they're doing a better job of fixing things and getting things more balanced, because we see those win rates get back to normal. Granted, some armies are still terrible for it. Imperial Agents, like a lot of people said, it's probably one of the weaker books, but is it really meant to be that much of a standalone book, or is it more of a book to say, here's a way you can play with your models and ally rules and stuff like that? To me, I feel like it was more of it's fluffy more than anything else. And much to your testament, should not have been the eradication of Death Watch. It should have just been, oh, hey, here's some stuff that you can do with Death Watch as allies. And now you can ally in Death Watch to other contingencies, et cetera, much like how it is with Sisters and Grey Knights. They're just added into it. But I don't want to stay on that topic for very long. Move over to the
How
other
long do
pack.
you guys have? I have so many complaints I can make about Death Watch.
Yeah, we don't. But but no, my reasoning for this is that like initially Necrons were dominant, and I told a lot of people I was like, just give it time, and once we see some more books come out, the biggest thing is that a lot of the index armies end up having one build, and once you learn that build, that's it. You know that matchup. Now with other armies having other things, and like you discussed with Blood Angels, there's a couple different options. Usually one option kind of goes to the top. I would say that probably most people would say Hypercrypt is still the strongest Necron detachment. I would disagree because I prefer playing Grey Knights with that up-down stuff. But it seems like we're starting to get more variety, which means that it's a little harder to predict what you're going up against with some of these armies, which I like. I think it's a healthy state that the game's in right now. And I think that if this continues this way, at least we're moving towards a healthier game than we've had in many previous years. We've had some very, very dark times in the past. I don't think you were a part of some of those dark times.
Space Marines Codex 2.0 in 8th edition.
Gladius Strike Force.
There's so many podcasts I listen to. They're like, yeah, I'm a competitive Warhammer player. I'm just going to stop until they fix this overpowered Space Marine stuff. But
you know about the Gladius Strike Force where you just get free transports?
Right, yeah. That was fun too.
Yeah, that was insane. All right, guys. Well, that's it for tonight. Don't know what we're going to run next week. We're going to discuss that a little bit. As you guys know, we're preparing for mid-November, which we're almost November. Mm-hmm. Anyone who's going out trick-or-treating, I'm going out trick-or-treating with the kids because I got all the little ones ranging. So to anyone going out trick-or-treating, please be safe. Please, when you're driving down streets, go slow. It's one day. Or don't go down a street that has a lot of kids. I've been in restaurants and pizza. Come on. It's simple. Go down another street. Be safe. It's a fun holiday. Let's keep it a fun holiday. Right?
Yeah. I mean, just don't drive. Don't go anywhere. Trick or treat. It's like 2 hours. Stay at home.
Really? Right. Unless it's an emergency. I mean, honestly. All right, guys. That's it. As always, thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again soon.